Welcome to Graceful Healing, a podcast to get straight talk about healing and living again. My name is Maureen Lake. I'm a holistic health coach, speaker, author, and thyroid disease fighter. Each week, I'll be bringing you graceful conversations to inspire you to seek new ways to hit the reset button to catapult your health and vitality to new levels. Listen in and open your heart to all the new possibilities. Are you ready? Let's do this. My discussion today with Dr. Becky, a Harvard-trained functional endocrinologist, and now a doctor who's reversing cognitive decline, was magnificent to say the least. I learned so much about dementia, Alzheimer's, and lifestyle changes. In fact, this is pretty frightening. 1 in 10 Americans now has some type of dementia, and almost 2/3 of these Americans are women. Frightening. Dr. Becky works with people and families affected by this dreadful disease, and as she connects the dots for us, we come to understand and realize that this shift in her practice came after losing her own mother only 4 months after her own diagnosis. Please listen as she shares so many tips and strategies on how to find out if you're at risk and what steps to follow if you are, or if you already have this disease, how to start reversing the symptoms. Dr. Becky goes into depth about micronutrients, hormone levels, and of course, sleep, the magical cure-all bullet that seems to elude so many of us. I hope you enjoyed this segment of Graceful Healing Podcast. It sure left an impact on me. Enjoy. Oh, I'm so happy to have you on the show today, Becky. Welcome.
Thanks, Maureen. You cannot even begin to imagine how honored I am that you asked me to participate. I am over the moon thrilled, and it's my hope and prayer that our conversation today can really shed some light on a very scary topic for many people.
Oh, I hope so too. And I can't wait to dig into your personal story and how you landed into this field that's such an incredibly important area right now for all of us. So can you share a little bit about your personal journey with us today?
Sure, but before I get started, I'd like to give you a teeny little shout out, really a big shout out, because the information that you provide on your podcast consistently in and out is so very valuable. And I sure hope the listeners really appreciate the incredible service that you're giving. There was a few podcasts in particular that you had done recently that you and Michelle had done together, one on sleep deprivation and one on exercise and whether or not it was good or bad for sleep. And for me, those two in particular were so profound because when we think about cognitive decline or dementia or Alzheimer's, sleep is a key critical component in the health of the brain. So the fact that you're already touching on topics that are so relevant now, whether or not when you went into doing these podcasts, you may not have even thought to yourself, wow, this is really going to be impactful for people with dementia or Alzheimer's. But dang, those topics were really, really powerful. So I just want to say, number one, thank you for putting out incredible content that is so valuable in a whole wide array of health topics. So thank you, because your stuff rocks. And
I just
want the world to know that.
That's really, really sweet of you. And I can't wait to hear your whole discussion about sleep too, because I do know how important that is. And I know also as women, how we just struggle with it night after night. So I can't wait for you just to dig into all of that. So, but thank you so much.
So I will tell you that I am accidentally opening a practice that is going to be focused solely on Alzheimer's. Again, whether or not it's with people that have been diagnosed or whether it is with family members, meaning if you are a child of somebody who was diagnosed and you might be concerned, holy cow, my mom had it or my father had it. Am I at risk? If I am, what can I do? So that's really where my practice is going to focus. And again, that was never my intention. I had my private practice down in the Florida Keys. I focused on endocrinology, functional endocrinology. And I know that you and I would have definitely been soul sisters if you would have been down in the Keys with your journey with Hashimoto's and the things that we would have been able to do together to talk about how functional medicine can really support the health of the thyroid. So that's my love and my passion is endocrinology. But what had happened is my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in June of 2016, and she passed away from Alzheimer's on October the 1st, 2016. Oh. So the date of her diagnosis to the date of her passing was very, very rapid. Right. However, the signs and symptoms were clearly there for many, many years before her diagnosis. The unfortunate part is that her signs and symptoms just got brushed off as other things. And for my family, especially, it was very disheartening because I have one sister who is a clinical psychologist. I have one sister who is a nurse, and then myself as a healthcare professional. So we all have healthcare backgrounds, and my mother was also a nurse. And even though we were seeing signs and symptoms, we knew my mother was seeing a neurologist. And so our thought was, well, the neurologist will let us know if there's anything to be concerned about. And again, for us, unfortunately, the signs and symptoms got missed until it was too late for her. Wow. And so with that, I learned about a lot of other people who lost parents in a similar fashion. And so some of us kind of gathered to talk about our journeys. And from that, in the meantime, I came across a book that was written by Dr. Dale Bredesen, and he's a medical doctor in California. And he wrote a book, and the name of the book is The End of Alzheimer's. And that book was published in 2017. So again, my mother passed away on October 1st, 2016. So this book came out too late to help me, but a friend of mine whose father passed shared the information about this book, and I read it, and my mind was totally blown in a most incredible and encouraging way, because here is a neuroscientist, a medical doctor who only studied neurodegenerative diseases. And in his mind, as an allopath, he knew that there was going to be a magic pill somewhere, somehow. He was going to create a magic pill that was going to cure Alzheimer's. And 20 years in a lab, and what he discovered accidentally himself was that there's not going to be a magic pill, because Alzheimer's is so varied in its different forms, in its different presentations. And so he and some other colleagues just started thinking about what's happening in the brain. And once he started looking at those things, he realized, holy cow, there are things that are being depleted, but if we can replenish these things, these neurotransmitters in the brain, if we can replenish them, regrow them, reactivate them, the brain can come back. And pills aren't going to do that, but proper nutrition, as well as proper exercise, proper stress management, proper sleep, those things can replenish the neurons in the brain so they can come back and function. And he started working with patients, and holy cow, his results were magical, purely magical. And he's got plenty of MRI evidence to show diminished brain function and what the brain looked like after a window of time following this lifestyle protocol. And so I was super excited about that. So I called agencies in my area after reading the book. And I said to these agencies, hey, I would love to come as a volunteer, and I would love to talk to people that have been recently diagnosed, and we could maybe do some cooking classes, and we could talk about foods that they should eat more of and foods that they should stay away from. or maybe for people who are further in the journey with Alzheimer's, maybe I could do some cooking classes with the caregivers and show them what are foods that you should prepare more of, what are foods that we should eat less of to help to heal the brain. And as I called agencies to offer my services, I got doors slammed in front of me saying, there is no science to show that nutrition will support the health of the brain. And I know you've read enough. Yeah. I know you know there's like 50,000 PubMed journal articles out there about nutrition and brain health. PubMed, this isn't, Hippie Chick magazine saying this, peer-reviewed journal articles. And I said, well, there's 50,000 peer-reviewed journal articles about nutrition and brain health. And I kept getting back the same comments. We don't acknowledge any of those peer-reviewed articles. And I would say, have you guys not read Dr. Bredesen's book? Jeez. To which the answer was no. So it made me frustrated. And I thought, oh my goodness, if people are newly diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia, or caregivers have a family member who are newly diagnosed, and they make phone calls to these various agencies hoping to get some help and assistance, knowing they're not going to get any kind of thing that's going to talk about nutrition and lifestyle modification. I said, that can't be, that cannot be. So that's what caused me to make a total 180-degree turn and say, all right, if the agencies out there are not going to do this, then okay, I guess this is God saying, Becky, if not you, then who? So I called Dr. Bredesen's office and I said, I knew I wouldn't talk to him, but I hoped I would talk to somebody, which I did. And I said, there's no way Dr. Bredesen and his colleagues in California can see everybody in the United States of America that's struggling with cognitive decline. I said, what are you doing about other doctors who are intrigued by his work? And they said, well, as fate would have it, the Institute for Functional Medicine has got a certification program. So any doctor in the world that wants to take the certification program can. So I said, thank you very much. I reached out to the Institute for Functional Medicine. I said, how do I go about getting in the certification program? Since I'm talking to you, fast forward, I did the certification program. And so in a perfect world, on or around April the 15th, I will be seeing patients focused solely on Alzheimer's. Again, whether it's people with Alzheimer's or family members who are concerned of whether or not they're at risk, so that we can talk about, are you at risk? And my prayer is that the website will be loaded with great information that will be easily navigable. That's my biggest struggles. I want to make sure that anybody can navigate the site easily. And I want to provide lots of really great free information so that anybody out there, regardless of income, can have actionable steps that they can take right here, right now, that will allow them to start improving the health of their brain or the health of their loved one's brain. So that's, again, that's my plan. That's what I plan on doing.
It's amazing what you're doing. And it's so, it's so needed. And I can't thank you enough for, you've made a really kind of like a career switch, right? I mean, I know that happened to myself too. I was a teacher and then I switched because of a life incident that occurred, and the same happened for you too. And how fortunate we are because of what you're doing. It's incredible.
It's amazing how God will shift us, right? We're on a path that I had total bliss. As I shared with you, my practice when I was down in the Keys was an endocrine-based practice, which I loved. And then when I relocated to Colorado to be closer to my oldest son, his wife, and my grandchildren, I fell into what I thought was going to be my job until the day that I passed on. And I was hired to write curriculum for students that were getting either their certification in clinical nutrition or their master's in clinical nutrition. And so I was writing curriculum. One of the courses I was blessed to write was nutrition for endocrine and reproductive health. Again, I love endocrinology. So if I can write curriculum for nutrition students to then be able to impart to their clients, again, I was going to I felt like I was passing the torch instead of me being in private practice, seeing endocrine patients. I was training up the next generation of nutritionists to supply them with the information they needed. And again, I was thrilled. I loved my job. I still teach there on part-time basis now as God has shifted me. But yeah, it's just, he calls you and you follow where he leads. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. Had I not had doors slammed in front of me, I would have joyfully been working with these agencies for free doing nutrition-based classes. But anyway,
incredible.
That's not how it was supposed to be. So
that's not exactly. I'm so curious about a lot of things, really. So I have some questions for you. But as far as the nutritional part of dementia, and what do you recommend people eat and especially stay away from? Because I mean, you know how our diets are in the United States, and so it's just so incredible. I know you know how important nutrition is because I do too. And how easy it is to like fall off the wagon because it's so easy. So what, can you give us some tips and strategies and things to stay away from? And
yes. And again, I think you and I will probably sound like such a broken record, but maybe if somebody out there hears it enough times, maybe the light bulb moment will go off. But what you and I know to be true is there is no place in our diet for processed foods. There's just not. And I know that I've heard it in my practice. I'm certain you've heard it in your practice where people will say things like, you just don't understand. I don't have time to prepare healthy foods. They'll give you all the reasons why they can't. And part of what I will be doing in my practice is I am going to be having cooking classes where whether or not it's the patient themselves, whether or not it's their caregiver, they're going to come to my house in my kitchen and we are going to meal prep so that they can see, holy cow, this is all there is to, oh my goodness, it's just as easy to prepare a healthy meal as it is a processed meal. And so what I would say to people that are listening is, and I mean this genuinely, I would pray that they would, we're so blessed with Google and YouTube. I would say YouTube meal prep so that people could go online and see for themselves how easy it is to say, okay, I'm just going to spend 4 hours on a Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, pick a day, any day, where you just prep your food for the week. That way, when you come home after work and your brain is exhausted and your body is exhausted, you don't have to try to think, how am I going to put on a nutritious meal right here, right now? It's already prepped. You just open up the fridge. Everything's chopped and diced and ready to roll and just do it. So, and if we have to be more specific by saying don't eat processed foods, especially processed grains, even if the packaging says organic whole wheat bread, organic whole grain bread, for many, many, many people, processed grains are highly inflammatory. And Dr. Bredesen, in the work that he did, discovered there's not one type of Alzheimer's. There are actually 6 distinct types that he's come across right now. And of those 6 distinct types, there are 3/4 that are really, really common. And one of the forms of Alzheimer's that's very common is an inflammatory form, which means the brain is highly inflamed, and processed grains are one of those things that inflames the brain. So we just have to say, bread is really off the table. Pasta is really off the table. As heartbreaking as that is, those are foods that, at least for a window of time, until we can get those inflammatory markers under better control, those kinds of foods just need to go away again until we get markers back to where they need to be. So processed foods, artificial sweeteners, and those are some things that when we think about artificial sweeteners, still in the AMA community, the American Medical Association community, they still consider artificial sweeteners to be part of a healthy lifestyle. And artificial sweeteners are definitely neurotoxins. Mm-hmm. They destroy brain cells. And so if there are people out there, and my mother, my entire life on this earth, I never, ever, ever saw my mother drink water. Mm-hmm. I never saw her drink juice. I never saw her entire life. The memory, first thing in the morning, I would hear the sound of a can opening. Yeah. And back in the day, it was Tab. All day long, she drank Tab. So from morning, noon, and night, Tab. And then when Tab got replaced with Diet Coke, and there was even a time when I took her to one of her neurology appointments. The neurologist had looked at her brain and was talking about what he called Swiss cheese holes. I mean, that you could see all these little holes in her brain that look like Swiss cheese. And I even said to the neurologist, do you think the fact that the only thing she drinks from sunup to sundown is diet soda, do you think maybe the artificial sweetener might have any role in her brain looking like this? To which, of course, the neurologist, of course not. There's no way the diet sodas could do that. So again, the part that's discouraging is when you have clients, when I have patients who come in and say to us, oh, but my neurologist told me, or my real doctor told me, or my primary care doctor told me, this has nothing to do with my, fill in the blank, my whatever health challenge, then it's a struggle for us because our clients are confused.
Right. How
do they know who to believe if the medical community is telling them one thing and then we're trying to tell them something else? So it is a struggle and it is a challenge. But what you and I know is what our grandmothers and their grandmothers told them. You have to eat right and exercise. You eat right, which means you have to eat real food. Exactly. You have to eat vegetables. You have to eat fruit. If you can do that, holy cow, there's a whole myriad of things that can happen to our physiology just by eating real vegetables and eating real fruit.
It's so frustrating with the medical profession, in my experience. I just wish they'd all go back to school. And, just like take a couple of classes and make sure one of them's in nutrition, because the odds are that they ever got a class in nutrition is slim and next to nothing.
Right. And yes, you're 100% correct in that. And again, I am so thrilled that we now have the Institute for Functional Medicine, where doctors who have been trained in the allopathic model, once they get their doctorate, what's happened, and I know that you've seen this time and time again, is doctors go into private practice with such grandiose ideas that they are going to make the world a healthier place. And unfortunately, they watch their patients getting sicker and sicker and sicker following the medical model. And there are plenty of doctors who say, this is not what I signed up for. There's got to be a better way. And so, I think about people like Dr. Steven Sinatra, a board-certified cardiologist who now takes care of his cardiac patients in a functional medicine protocol. Dr. Mark Hyman, who is the founder of the Institute for Functional Medicine, the same thing. He went into private practice thinking he was going to make the world healthier. And he realized the medical model isn't. And so the good news is the paradigm is shifting because a lot of docs are getting discouraged. We're not there yet, but and I was blessed. I got some of my clinical nutrition studies done at Harvard Medical School because they now have in place something that's called a lifestyle medicine program. And the lifestyle medicine program is much like the functional medicine program, where they're saying, we can't just say give everybody a pill. There's got to be more to it than that. How can the patients be proactive with their health in lieu of being reactive with their health? So
that's awesome.
It's shifting, but yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done. And thank goodness that you are out there doing the work that you're doing to help your clients navigate these waters to make wise decisions with their health, because it's up to us individually, right? We have to say, we are going to take charge of our health. We can't play the passive victim where we just say somebody's going to give us a pill and everything will be okay.
Right. The Band-Aid doesn't work anymore, if it ever did.
Right. And it didn't, It didn't, ever.
So with your background in endocrinology and all that, is there like a hormonal relationship with Alzheimer's also, or? Bing,
exclamation point, fireworks are going off over my head. That is one of so as I shared with you, Dr. Bredesen, in his work with his colleagues, the inflammatory response is one form, but there is another form that is solely related to depleted hormones. And so you can do all of the right things for all of the right reasons, but if you don't get those hormone holes filled correctly, nothing is going to work. So, and again, not everybody with Alzheimer's or dementia has a hormonal component, but a huge portion do, and that must be addressed. And that, I will tell you, shocked me to my core, which you would probably find odd if my practice was in functional endocrinology. But in my practice as a functional endocrinologist, and as a woman on top of that, a woman who went through menopause, when I would have so many women come to me, because I was doing the endocrinology work back in the early 2000s when the National Institute of Health halted their women's health initiative. And I'm certain that you're well aware of that, because the standard protocol prior to the Women's Health Initiative was once you got through menopause, you would be put on synthetic hormone replacement therapy, HRT, industry standard, all women. And as a woman myself, it did not ring true to me. I thought to myself, our bodies have naturally stopped creating hormones because we're not supposed to carry babies any longer. So why do we need to have synthetic hormones? And I wasn't horribly opposed to bioidentical hormones. And in my practice, I used bioidentical hormones, but on all the women where I used bioidentical hormones, I used it with an exit strategy in place where we would start out with a dose. We would check their hormones 90 days later. We would stair step down, because in my mind, I thought God didn't make a mistake. If he stopped us from creating this amount of hormones from our ovaries, there must be a reason. Knowing that our adrenal glands then would kick in and do some supplemental stuff to maintain other function. So I was not a big fan at all of hormones. So anyway, I don't know why at the time it didn't occur to me that even though God in his infinite wisdom had our hormones go down naturally when we as women are not to create babies anymore, but I failed to put the piece of the puzzle in that most women in America, most men in America too, follow a standard American diet. And that standard American diet has endocrine disruptors. You know, if they're eating conventionally grown produce that are sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, those pesticides and herbicides are endocrine disruptors, disrupts their hormone levels. Right. And if they eat conventionally grown beef or drink conventional milk or eat cheese or ice cream, and those cows have been injected with bovine growth hormone, again, totally disrupting their endocrine system. So even if God created us one way. We are not eating, we're disrupting our hormones because of the foods that we're eating.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it just dawned on me, holy cow, we really do need to look at what's happening with our estrogens, progesterones, testosterones. And so now I have gone back to, again, I still won't use synthetic hormones. No chance would I use Premarin, Prempro, those synthetic estrogens, those synthetic progesterones, because they are so detrimental to our health.
Mm-hmm.
But bioidentical estrogens and progesterones are going to be really important to a lot of people. Then we have to look at our thyroid levels and see what's happening there and how can we support the health of the thyroid. Mm-hmm. And we have to look at vitamin D, which oftentimes most people in the general public don't think about vitamin D as a hormone, but it is, and we must make sure our vitamin D levels are where they need to be too. So hormones, without a doubt, are looked at. And the good news now is that if some people listening don't necessarily want to go to their primary care doc to get these tests done, there's so many great direct-to-consumer labs available so that people can say, okay, I want to see what my estrogen, progesterone levels look like. I want to see what my thyroid levels are. I want to see what my vitamin D level. They can do that themselves and know where are they in space and time? Are there some significant hormonal deficiencies or excesses? And if so, then what can we do to make sure to get those hormones balanced?
Yeah, so, I actually have done that myself. It's been incredible because I've gotten results that I wanted my doctor to test. And she's like, no, we'll wait 6 months. So I just went and got them tested myself. And sure enough, they were depleted. So sometimes. And
can you imagine, waiting 6 months when it's your health on the line?
Yeah.
That just seems so sad.
I know. So basically, okay, so I had a hysterectomy, so I went into early menopause. I never went on hormone replacement therapy because my mom has had breast cancer. And so I was always told not to take any of the synthetic. But if I'm hearing you correctly, I probably should be definitely taking vitamin D. I already have my thyroid checked all the time because of my Hashimoto's.
Right.
But what is the bioidentical? Is that what you're calling the hormones?
Yes. Bioidentical hormones. That's correct. So that they are hormones that structurally are identical to what our estrogen would look like. That's the key word. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it's got one carbon chain that's off just a little. Oh, it's kind of close. Let's use it. No, structurally, it is exactly the same as the estrogen your body would produce, or the progesterone that your body would produce, or the testosterone. And so, I'm a huge fan. And for most women, especially, your body's going to absorb, especially estrogen, topically better than in a pill. It'll just get to the bloodstream more effectively, more efficiently, without worrying about it going through the digestive process. And also with progesterone, either topically or sublingually, again, bypassing the digestive process is going to get it to the system better. But it's easy enough to get some labs done to say, okay, if I am a postmenopausal woman, because even though you had the hysterectomy, your adrenal glands, the role of the adrenal glands post-menopause in women, one of the many, is to make subsequent amounts of estrogen and progesterone. Your adrenal gland will do that. And not enough to sustain a pregnancy, but enough to sustain all the other hormone functions. Estrogen and progesterone, critically important for cardiac function and for brain health. Critically important. And so, but if the adrenal glands aren't making the adequate amounts to support the heart and the brain, right, then we need to do something to support that. So I would certainly encourage you to reach out to your primary care doc, or again, you can certainly just go online yourself to any of those direct-to-consumer labs, but I would certainly encourage you to find out where your estrogen, progesterone, DHEA, and testosterone levels are to see if you may be needing to supplement for a window of time.
Okay, awesome. That's really good to know. And then I can't let you go without talking about sleep, because I do understand the importance of it, obviously, and I struggle with it every night. I know that when we're asleep and have a good sound quality sleep, our brain actually washes all the debris away. And so that's one reason why our sleep is so vitally important. But any tips or strategies you can share to help some of us like chronic non-sleepers out there to maybe get a better night's sleep? And what do you think of Tylenol PM? Because I'm like really tempted to buy a bottle.
Okay, please no. Please no. Don't ever, please, the Tylenol, acetaminophen is so detrimental to our internal organ, significantly detrimental. So please no.
Okay,
please don't do that.
Good to know.
So yeah. But what would I recommend? So the first thing, if I would want to know about what is happening with your adrenal gland, and this is what, in almost all cases of poor sleep, there is an adrenal gland dysfunction because the adrenal gland is responsible for fight or flight. Mm-hmm. And so if we are overstressed, and holy cow, is America overstressed or what? So again, in a perfect world, the adrenal gland would say, hey, there's stress out there. I'm going to address this stress. As soon as it is now put to bay, then I'm going to turn off, and kind of like turning a light switch on and off. In a perfect world, that's what we want our adrenal gland to do. Kick on when there is stress present, turn off when there is not. But for most Americans, either the adrenal gland is totally stuck all the way in the on mode, or the adrenal gland is kind of like a dimmer switch in that it has gone down a little bit. So it's not fully illuminating a room, but it's sort of illuminating a room. And when the adrenal gland is stuck in the on mode, physiology prevents. Impossible, no matter what you want to do, your body will not shut off completely to have a good night's sleep. And the reason it will not shut off completely is because, again, self-preservation mechanism will always win over anything else in our body. And so if our body perceives that there is a danger, the body is thinking, okay, I'm going to lay in this bed. I will close my eyes. I will rest a little bit, but I will not go into a deep and meaningful sleep because there's probably a bear or a tiger on the other side of that door. And if I allow myself to go into a deep sleep, that bear or tiger will come in, it will get me, and end of my life. So, there's a lot of great things out there. People say, oh yeah, well, what do you think about melatonin? What do you think about chamomile tea? And they have their place. But if the adrenal gland is stuck in the on mode, doesn't matter what you want to happen. So you can take a Tylenol PM, which will knock you out, but it's not allowing the brain to do the regenerate and rejuvenate. And that's what we want sleep for, right? We want to regenerate the cells that are dying and decaying, becoming new, and we want to rejuvenate. We want to infuse energy into our cells so that we're vibrant and vital in the morning. So again, you can knock yourself out artificially, but again, that old Imperial margarine commercial, you can't fool Mother Nature. You can't fool Mother Nature. So you can knock yourself out, but you still didn't get the rejuvenation and the regeneration that you had hoped for. And until the adrenal gland can be in a place of knowing, okay, I'm going to turn on when I need to, but I'm going to turn off. So more than anything, I would want people to, instead of thinking about doing a chamomile tea or doing melatonin, maybe go to their health food store and get some adrenal support. There's wonderful, wonderful supplements that will support the health of the adrenal gland to get it to, just to kind of calm down at night so that somebody could sleep well. Now, there's a caveat to that. There's a really great herb, ashwagandha is an incredible adaptogenic herb that supports the health of the adrenal gland. However, if anybody has ever had what I'm going to call a hormone-related cancer, you had breast cancer, you had uterine cancer, you had ovarian cancer, you had thyroid cancer, ashwagandha and adaptogenic herbs are probably not going to be a good fit for you. So I would discourage people that have had any kind of, again, what I'll call a hormone-related cancer. Please don't take adaptogenic herbs. But if you haven't had a breast cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, then that's where I would start, is with something to support the adrenal gland. And the other thing that we know, but none of us tend to do, is turn off technology 90 minutes before you're going to bed. It's because of that blue light, right? We know the dangers of that blue light, but we must, and that blue light prevents our body from emitting and secreting melatonin when it's supposed to trigger that circadian rhythm, which is what we want, right? We want our circadian rhythm to say, time to go to bed now, time to wake up now. But if that blue light just totally destroys our melatonin production and the ability for that circadian rhythm to do what it's supposed to do.
That's such good advice. Such good advice. I have one terrible addiction that I still haven't been able to break yet, and that is my technology in the bedroom. I'm getting better, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, I would. And again, for everybody out there, there's going to be a struggle somewhere in their health journey, right? Whether or not it's the technology in the bedroom, whether or not it's the processed food, whether or not it's a Diet Coke. All of us have we'll call it our Achilles heel, right? Our place or just our place of weakness. And that's okay. We all have them. It's just our goal every single day to just be 1% better, right? So if, maybe tonight, 5 minutes earlier. So, okay, I'm looking at technology until 10 o'clock. That's my MO. Okay, well, tonight it'll be 9:55, right? That's still 5 minutes earlier.
Yep.
And then what if tomorrow night it was another 5 minutes? It doesn't have to. For those people who can be all or nothing, amen. Seriously. Yay for you if you can just, all or nothing. But for those that can't be that, what can you do today that's 1% better than what you did yesterday? And then build on that. Because again, think where would we be in 1 year from now, right? If every day we just made one teeny weeny change. So we just have to look at it marathon, not sprint. So don't beat yourself up, Maureen. Just say, all right, I'm going to commit to 5 minutes earlier tonight. That's be my commitment. I can do 5 minutes earlier.
Yep, absolutely. That's great advice.
So that would be my 2 cents worth. Yeah.
When I gave up Diet Coke, I did it cold turkey. Back in college, when I smoked cigarettes, that was cold turkey because I knew that was the only way I was going to be able to break that habit. But the technology is like, well, I'll just want to listen to some music, or I just want to watch, I didn't catch the news or whatever, so.
I know.
But I love the 5 minute each night because eventually I'll get down to 0 minutes and my habit will be broken. I know it.
Yay. Yay. I'm excited about that for you. That's wonderful.
This has been such an amazing discussion, Becky. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. And I just, if I can, I'm going to talk real fast and just say real quick I want people that are listening to know, okay, what are some things I can do now? So salmon, wild caught, please eat salmon, wild caught. Blueberries, organic, please eat those. Avocados, walnuts, organic, please eat them. If you can eat some salmon, some avocado, some walnuts, and some blueberries, work those foods through your diet on a day in, day out basis. You don't have to eat all of them every day. Just make sure one or some. That does amazing things to support the health of the brain. So, and if people say, ooh, salmon, I'm not sure if I can do some wild caught salmon, then maybe if they would just commit to taking a super excellent, high quality omega-3 supplement, those would be some things they can do right here, right now, today that will help their brain improve function. It won't do anything about the hormones. And so again, they'll have to be tested to see where they stand on their hormones, but they can at least help that brain immediately. So
Perfect.
just wanted to throw that in there real quick.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. I can't wait for everybody to hear this discussion. It's been incredible.
And yes, and more than anything else, I want people to know that are listening, please, if you're concerned right here, right now, even if you don't want to spend the money to buy the book, The End of Alzheimer's by Dr. Dale Bredesen, go to your library. If they don't have it on the shelf, they will get it for you. That's why we have a library system. Go to the library, get the book, read the book, because you will absolutely feel so empowered and inspired to know this diagnosis does not have to be the death sentence I was told it was. I can help my mom, or I can help my dad, or I can absolutely help me, because the book, The End of Alzheimer's, outlines step by step by step, what do you need to do to support the health of your brain and regain your health.
Perfect. And I know for my listeners, Dr. Becky's website won't be up until after April 15th. But in the meantime, she's going to share her email address with you. And I'll also put it in the blog post so you can just link directly there. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach her directly. So do you want to just share your website real quick?
Yes. So
your email.
And my email address, this is just my personal email address right now, is Ask Dr. Becky. That's AskDrBecky, the number 1. So Ask Dr. Becky 1 at gmail.com. And once my website is up and running, there'll be another email, but at least for now, if you have any questions, anything that I can provide for you to guide you on this journey, I would be so honored to send you whatever resources you need so that you know that there's help and hope out there.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Maureen, thank you. And again, I can't thank you enough for all the hard work that you do. Your podcasts are just so loaded with such valuable information, and anybody that listens consistently, without a doubt, can improve their health just by changing lifestyle. So Thank you for offering that up to people.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Maureen. I sure appreciate it.
Okay, bye. Hey, thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you can, take a moment and give us a review. And please join the VIP room in Facebook for more discussion and insights. You can find us at Graceful Healing Podcast VIP room. See you there, and see you next time.